रघुरांगेरारते शोभा जगा जन मनोलोभा गौरांगे रते जगा जन मनोलोभा गौ नित्य गौर रे बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने नमः। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमस्ते जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरा भक्तवृंद जय श्री जय हो। बोला रे कृष्ण रे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Bol सब गाइए chant everyone. Bola Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Hola Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Bol Hare Bol गाइए सब गाइए Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Bola Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Bol Bola Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Bol Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Bola Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Bola Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Nitai Gauranga Jaya Nitai Gaurango Nitai Gauranga Jaya Bola Nitai Gauranga Jaya Gaura Hare Nitai Gauranga Jaya Gaura Hare Jai Sachinandana Jai Sachinandana Jai Sachinandana Bola Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hare Jai Sachinandana Bola Jai Sachinandana Gaura Hare Jai Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jai Jagannath Swami Jai Jagannath Jai Jagannath Swami Bola Jai Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jai Jagannath Swami Jai Jagannath Jai Baladeva Jai Subhadra Jai Baladeva Jai Subhadra Subhadra Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jai Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagame Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Jagannatha Swami Jagannatha Swami Nayana Patagame Nayana Patagami Bhavatu Me Govinda Jai Jai Gopala Jai Jai Govinda Jai Jai Govinda Jai Jai Gopala Jai Jai Bolo Radha Ramana Re Govinda Jai Jai Radha Ramana Re Govinda Jai Jai Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Bola Govinda Jaya Jaya Gopala Jaya Jaya Radha Ramana Re Govinda Jaya Jaya Bolo Radha Ramana Re Govinda Jaya Jaya Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Bol. Bola Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Bola Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bola Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bola Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Bola Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare. Jaya Nitya Gaura Sundar, Jaya Nitya Gaura Sundar, Nitya Gaura Sundar, Jaya Nitya Gaura Sundar. Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava, Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha. Molo Jaya Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath, Jai Baladeva, Jai Subhadra, Jagannath, Jaya Jagannath. Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, हरि बोल हरे बोल नित्य गौर हरि बोल जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय दोनों बोलो प्रभु जी जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रियाचार्य सत हृदय ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांता स्वामी स्वरूपा जी की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस प्रिय भ्रागाचार्य हृदय ग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांता सरस्वती गोस्वामी कृपा जी की अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की नामचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की इस्कान बीबीटी संस्थापक आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद जी की प्रेम से कहो श्री चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भरदिन की श्री श्री राधा कृष्णा गोपा गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की नवदीप मायापुर धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की द्वारकापुरी धाम की अयोध्यापुरी धाम की गंगा माई जमुना माई की भक्ति देवी तुलसी देवी की शावेद भक्त वृंद की हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की ट्रांसडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की प्रसादम डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की दया लॉर्डशिप श्री राधा माधव भगवान जी की श्री श्री गौर सुंदर भगवान की श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा भगवान जी गौर प्रेमनंदे हरि all glories to devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Namaste Narasimhaya, Namaste Narasimhaya, Namaste Narasimhaya, Namaste Valadaladidaine, Valadaladidaine, हिरण्यकाशी पूर्वक्षः हिरण्यकाशी पूर्वक्षः शिलताङ्कानखालये नङ्गानखालये इतो नरसिंहो परतो नरसिंहो इतो नरसिंहो पर यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंहो यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंहो वहे नरसिंहाय हृदय नरसिंहो वहे नरसिंहाय नरसिंहाराधिं शरणं प्रपदे नरसिंहाराधिं शरणं प्रपदे शरणं प्रपदे तव कर कमलवरे नखामद्भुत शृङ्गा दालिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जयो जगदीश हरे जयो जगदीश हरे जयो जगदीश हरे तव घर अलवरे अद्भुत शृङ्गा हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवधृता नरहरिरूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे तव कर कमलवरे नखा भूत श्रृंगा ललिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृंगां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे कर कमल वरे नखा भूत श्रृंगा ललिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृंगा केशवधृता हरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जयो नरसिंहदेव 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 जय नरसिंहदेव जय नरसिंहदेव 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 जय नरसिंह जयो प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जयो प्रहलाद महाराज जयो प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जय प्रहलाद नरसिंह भगवान की जय भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल
Hare Krishna everyone, welcome to ISKCON of Baltimore, the abode of Sri Sri Radha Madhav, Jagannath Baldev Subhadra and Nitai Gaur Sundar. So thank you for making the time. Yeah, thank you for making the time, your valuable time to come on Sunday evening. It's a very special evening of Makar Sankranti for many of you. I know people celebrate with different names in different parts of India. And we're also fortunate that His Grace Radheshyam Prabhuji is with us. I'll give a brief introduction of Prabhuji, and then Prabhuji will share wonderful wisdom for all of our benefit. So, His Grace. Oh, okay, I'll ask. Yeah, let me ask. 1 minute. Oh, perfect, thank you. Yeah. So basically, yeah, His Grace Radheshyam Prabhuji has an M.Tech from IIT Mumbai, and he's a IIT Mumbai topper and founding director of the Voice Youth Clubs in Indian universities. Voice stands for Vedic Oasis for Inspiration, Culture and Education. And he's the president of ISKCON Pune since 1997. That is about 25 years now, with a community of 6,000 members. And he's a Global Excellence Award winner for educating youth in Bhagavad Gita specifically. And he's a Global Duty Officer for West Outreach appointed by GBC of ISKCON. That is a very responsible position. That's a worldwide position in ISKCON, Global Duty Officer. And then he also is the award winner for Jeev Goswami Award for Innovative Youth Outreach. And is the designer of Discover Yourself 6-session course for youth and corporates. One such session he did just in a Baltimore temple for the youth last couple of days, Friday and Saturday. It was very well received by students who came and youth who came. And then he's also compiler of youth books like Stress to Smile and the 5-volume Essence of Gita series. And he's also youth trainer in the last 30 years in all the leading IITs, NITs and other institutions, and reaches out to cities in India and abroad. Some of the cities in India are listed here, like Pune, Kolkata, Kanpur, Mumbai, Thane, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Dharwad, Belgaum, Mysore. And Prabhuji also preaches a lot in US. He presented seminar at several universities in US, like MIT, Boston, Stanford, Caltech, University of California, Berkeley, UCLA, and other universities in USA also. And Prabhuji has given several seminars in the corporate world. Some of them are listed here, like Microsoft, Amazon, Bank of America, Infosys, Cognizant, Persistent, etc. So many devotees are inspired by seeing Prabhuji himself and then listening to Prabhuji. So it's a wonderful inspiration. So please do pay your full attention in listening to Prabhuji, and then also be interactive when Prabhuji encourages you to interact in any way. And feel free to ask any questions, because Prabhuji is a wonderful wealth of resource to give you his full realization for all of us. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Please move forward so that people who come later on can join. One last announcement. There is a Nityananda Tirayodasi, that is Lord Nityananda's appearance day, is coming up on February 2nd. That's in the evening at 5 p.m. Please plan your day so you can spend time here. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki Srila Prabhupada ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki Kali Yuga Pavana Harinama Sankirtan ki Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuvanmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namavam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All of you can repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. Welcome all of you for this evening special session today. Today is special because it is Makara Sankranti day, 15th of January. On this auspicious day, Bhishma Pitamaha, whom you are seeing in the picture, he ascended to the Vaikuntha planets, or back home, back to the spiritual world on this day. It's a very special day. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says in the 8th chapter, 5th verse, a couple of very important verses he teaches us. He says that Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitah. In whatever way a person leads his life, and that type of absorption gradually one develops. And that absorption gradually matures to a point where at the time of death, the person's consciousness takes him to a particular destination after death. You all know in the Gita beginning, 2nd chapter, Lord Krishna teaches that you are not this body, but you are driver of this body. Just like, it's like saying you are not the car, you are driver of the car. You are seated in the bodily car. Similarly, all of us are seated in this bodily cage, just like a parrot is kept in a cage, or a driver is inside a car. Like that, we, the spirit, or the real personalities, we are seated in this bodily car. Now, the spirit is supposed to fly in the free sky without any restriction. Because originally speaking, the spirit is also similar in quality to God. God is pure, spirit is also pure. God is the spiritual world. God is infinitely powerful. We are infinitesimal. We are tiny. But we have similar qualities like Him. He is eternal, we are eternal. He is blissful, we are also blissful. He is full of knowledge, oceanic knowledge. We have according to our size, we also have full knowledge. So we are tiny, He is great. Just like He is like a golden mountain and we are like a small golden ornament. One in quality, although we are different in quantity. But in this world where we have come, we are in a different situation. Just like if you take a bird flying in the sky and put him into a cage, the bird won't be happy. Similarly, all of us also, trapped in this bodily cage, we are not happy. There are many problems while seated in this bodily machine. The body is very fragile. It can be subjected to accidents. The 5 Panchamahabhutas, which we say earth, water, fire, air, ether. These 5 are very essential things in our life. Like right now, you all are sitting on the earth comfortably. Without the earth, we cannot sit, isn't it? But the same earth can cause earthquakes, isn't it? Where it can devour a person inside the earth. Similarly, water is very essential for both our drinking water and bathing water and cooking, food items in the kitchen. We need water very much. But the same water can come as a flood, like tsunami, which can devour lives. Similarly, fire is very essential in the kitchen. Without that, you can't cook food. But the same fire can cause fire accidents. Chicago fire, huge fire. So, in this way, you will find that. I heard recently also in California there was some fire, is it? Last year? In California only, right? California, yeah, correct, yeah. So, the fire, which is very essential for cooking, can become a great threat, danger, you can see that. In the same manner, earth, water, fire, air, ether. We can talk about every one of them. Air is necessary for our breathing, but air can cause tornadoes or cyclones, like New Orleans. Cyclone we had some years ago, Katrina, Rita and all that, cyclones. So, you will see that these elements inside which the soul is trapped right now, we all are trapped in this body. There's a purpose why God has put us in this body. Just like if you take a marble block and you chisel out unwanted portion, and then a beautiful murti, a beautiful portrait comes out of it. Similarly, God also wants to chisel out our unwanted natures, which are not conducive for our happiness and which are not conducive for others' happiness. Those things God wants to chisel out so that a beautiful angel can come out of us. Once you bring out that beautiful angel out of you, then you don't belong to this world anymore. You belong to that world, the spiritual world. In spiritual world, everyone is like an angel. Everyone is pure-hearted. Everyone is non-envious and friendly and keeping God in the center. And all are very joyful. Everyone is helpful. Everyone thinks others are better than me. Everyone is in a serving mood. Whereas in this world, it is just the opposite. In that world, everybody thinks I am dasanu das, which means servant of servant. Here, everyone thinks I am bossanu boss. I want to boss over others. Even in a family, sometimes you see a man tells his friends that I am the breadwinner of this family. I bring money. So I am in control of everybody in the family. And the woman tells others that my husband brings money, but I am the controller of money. I am finance controller. So I am in control of everything. And the child tells his friends, if I scream mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, everybody comes running. So I am in control. So people like to be in control in this world, or controlling others. Whereas there, everybody considers themselves servant of others. It is just the opposite world there. Similarly, there is no element of unhealthy competition there. Whereas in this world, there is always a cutthroat competition, people burning, seeing others' progress in this world. People try to pull legs of others. So, and that world is a world of love. This world is a world of lust and exploitation. So, in that world, the principle is live and let live. Whereas in this world, I want to eat you, you want to eat me. That kind of world it is. Which means jivo jivasya jivanam means one living being becomes a food for another. You all know the ecological cycle? You know, a fly is eaten by a frog by a snake by an eagle is shot by a hunter. You find in this world, the weaker living beings are at the mercy of stronger ones. Like a deer is chased by a tiger or a lion. Small fishes are eaten by bigger fishes. Small snakes are eaten by bigger snakes in this world. Small businessmen are swallowed by bigger businessmen. I heard Nokia was swallowed by which company? Which one? Microsoft, yeah. Similarly, WhatsApp was swallowed by Facebook, is it? Yeah, you will hear that smaller companies are swallowed by bigger companies. You will hear that. Similarly, weaker countries are dominated by stronger countries, correct now? You will see that in this world, many countries were under foreign subjugation for some period of time, till they got the freedom, correct now? So, you will find in this world, the weaker ones are dominated by bigger ones. So, in this world, therefore, everybody lives in fear. Like, for example, India was under British rule for till 1947. But after they went, the Chinese came in 1964, I think. After that, the Pakistanis came. Different people came. Generally, every part of the world has seen some disturbance or the other, a weaker section subjugated by a stronger section in this world. So this is the world we are living, because of which we have always fear. So in Sanskrit, it is called as jivo jivasya jivanam. One living being becomes a food for another in this world. Whereas there, in that world, live and let live. Everybody is peaceful, and they let others live peaceful also. They don't encroach on others' property. They don't exploit others. So you get an idea by this when you read the scripture. So this is a spiritual plane, this is a material plane. The spiritual plane is a very everlastingly happy life with God in the center. In the material plane, everybody wants to put themselves in the center. Just like you take one compass and draw one circle and then extend the radius, draw multiple circles with one common center. They will be called as concentric circles. And concentric circles never clash. But in this world, everybody thinks, I am the center. Then there is clash. Because everybody, if you draw multiple circles with different centers, they all are going to clash. Therefore, there are clashes in this world. Yeah. You see, one time in a school, one teacher brought small kids, small children, lower kindergarten school children, and she dressed them up like a butterfly. Nice, beautiful dress. And each child was told to carry one letter made of thermocol. One child was carrying E, another child was carrying M, another child was carrying O, another one was carrying C, one was carrying L, one was carrying E, and the last one was carrying W. Can anybody guess? Each of them were carrying one letter. When they all went and stood in the stage, there were 2,000 people, and there was a standing ovation. Everybody applauded, and the children were looking at teacher, what did we do? We didn't do anything. We just came and stood on the stage, and people are applauding for us. Can anybody guess why people applauded? Because they were actually standing with the letters indicating welcome. All the people. Now, why did they get applause? Not just for the welcome. There is another reason. Anybody can say why? Why? Yes? Yeah, of course, but they didn't have to do anything. Teacher has put it. Teacher has put it on their front and tied it like this. And when they came and stood on the stage, everybody clapped hands. Why? Why everybody, 2,000 people, everybody applauded? Why? Anybody can guess why? Yeah, it was welcome. They saw the welcome. Is it that's all the reason or any other reason? He's saying just to encourage them, they applauded. Okay? Quite possible. But there is another very important reason. I want someone else want to try. Yes, please. Yeah, they were welcoming all the visitors, 2,000 people. They welcomed them. Yes? He is coming very close to my answer. He says, together they made a picture of that welcome. Together they did, he's saying, okay? No, they didn't put any picture, just the welcome was there, that's all. See, they were applauded for a very important reason, because they cooperated with the teacher. They cooperated. Imagine if W shouted first that I will go first, and then O said I will go second, and E said I will go, then all the letters would have got jumbled up. And nobody can make out what are they standing for. Nobody would have applauded. But here the children obeyed the teacher. Teacher said, E, you go first. M, you go second. O, you go third. Whoever the teacher told to go to the stage one by one, they obeyed the teacher. Then something wonderful came out. Similarly, if you obey God, everything will come out well. That's the lesson. And when we disobey God, everything will go crazy. So in that world, everyone obeys God's plan. That thy will be done, not my will. When God's will be done, everybody is happy there. In this world, people turn their back to God and say that, you don't interfere with me. I have come with a program. I have my independent plan. So then they create a mess in this world. Create a mess for themselves and for others also. So anyway, we have already come to this world. Then what do we do? So the sacred Bhagavad Gita as well as Srimad Bhagavatam, they tell us that we should now look for how we can go back to that original spiritual plane where we can be happy forever. That is actually the original plane. Like a rainwater is pure in the sky. When it touches the ground, it becomes muddy. But it doesn't mean that it is going to be muddy forever. It can be made pure again by putting in a desalination plant or something like that. In the same manner, the spirit is never putrefied. The spirit is always pure, but it is covered by impurity. Just like, for example, if somebody is wearing a nasty smelling socks, the person is not bad, but his socks is bad. But the socks can be washed with soap and the smell can be removed completely. Similarly, our mind is like the socks. It has many polluting agents like lust, anger, greed, pride, envy, illusion, and all those things. But it is washable. Mind can be washed by taking shelter of the Lord and by uttering His names very fervently, in a repentant mood, in a mood of prayer, and supplicating ourselves to His lotus feet. We can purify the mind completely. It's possible. So, the goal of human form of life is to purify the mind and experience a heart transformation. A cruel person should become a compassionate person. An arrogant person should become a humble person. A selfish person should become a selfless person. A rigid and adamant person should become a flexible and adaptable person. An impatient person should become very tolerant and patient. In this kind of changes should come if one is practicing true religious principles. So which is called as change of heart. So that's one of the goals of the religion to be accomplished, is the change of heart. So when the mind is becoming cleansed, then we become better and better personalities. And you will also feel happy, and you will make others happy who are around you. Because we acquire some of the qualities of the residents of spiritual world. When some of those qualities come in us, then we start behaving in a similar fashion. That means we are gradually preparing ourselves to return back to that abode. Even while being in this world, we will exhibit some of those qualities. So, in this way, the heart transformation, which happens due to purification of heart, is actually the goal of life. Now comes a very important point here. Now we are seated in this bodily cage, I told you. If you do about 20% purification in this life, next life you start from 21%. And if you have done 60% next time, then your third life you start from 61%. So sometimes people say that the reincarnation is not there in our religion, maybe it's in some other religion. But actually you will find every textbook has subject matter of reincarnation. You will find that. For example, you will find there was one king called Constantinople in those days. And during his time, some of the texts on reincarnation were removed. Because that there is a history of one of the queens who had many paramours. When she heard about the karmic reactions that await her, she said, remove those portions. So, but actually you will find there are even now the remnants of the texts, like, for example, Jesus says in one place, John the Herod Elias has reappeared as John the Herod, he says. So the disciples are asking Jesus, reappeared, what does it mean? Does it mean that somebody has gone into the womb and come out? So that time he says, those who have the ears to hear can hear, like that he says. The meaning of that is, actually the fact about reincarnation, one person leaving one body and accepting another and third and fourth, these are multiple opportunities given for the spirit to attain the state of complete perfection, either in one life or in multiple lives. It's an opportunity given to us for purifying our mind by glorification of God and attaining the purest state. Ultimately, one should come to the state of such purity, and then one returns back. At that time, the love of God will be awakened fully. Initially, as I told you, the enjoying mentality to service mentality, exploitative, lusty mentality to loving mentality. So that is a purification, 100% purification as it happens. So how is this topic I am talking to you relevant now to Bhishma lying here in the arrow bed here? Today is the day when Bhishma was meditating on Lord Krishna, who was sitting in front of him, remembering him completely absorbed with love in his heart. He ascended to the spiritual world. So some of you may want to know, who is this Bhishma who is lying in the arrow bed, and what is his history, what is the background? So there are two great epics in India. One is called Ramayana, another one is called Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, you read an episode about the grandsire Bhishma Pitama, who is the eldest member of the Kaurava dynasty. So, long story cut short, in his lineage you will find in the Kaurava dynasty there were two brothers, Kauravas and Pandavas. The Pandavas were virtuous, Kauravas were vicious. Because Kauravas were headed by Duryodhana, whose father's name is Dhritarashtra. Both the father and the son were very madly attached to keep ruling over the kingdom of the whole world, although the kingdom didn't belong to them. It belonged to the other brothers, the Pandavas. So you all know very well in this world, there is always a tug of war between divine and demoniac, between virtue and vice. There is always a tug of war in this world. Two types of people are always there in this world since the dawn of creation. I heard a story in the Puranas. One time, the first created living being, Brahma, he was approached by some demons. And the demons asked Brahma, who is great? Are we great? Or the demigods great? Like that they asked. And Brahma understood, if I tell them demigods are great, these fellows will be wild on me. Why to tell them the answer? He said, next week I will tell you, he said. You will figure out yourself. So then the following week, there was a very big hall in which prasadam was distributed. It's a holy occasion, some occasion. But at the entrance where everybody was going to that hall to eat, everybody's hand was tied with a bamboo. From here to here, from here to here, it was tied with a bamboo. And they were wondering, what is this? And they all went in, they all sat. The demons sat in rows. Then the demigods, they sat in rows. And then when the prasadam distribution was done, they were all looking at the plate, many nice items. There was laddu, big laddu, there was rice, there were different types of varieties of foods. And like 15, 20 varieties. They were very happy. The only problem was, how are we going to eat? Because the hands are tied with the bamboo. So as soon as the time of the prasadam starting time came, the demons were trying to take one item and throw it and then catch it like you put basketball, no? Like that they were trying to catch it. But sometimes what went up, instead of landing in the mouth, it landed on the eyes. And it was burning their eyes. Some of them were screaming. Some of them were getting up and running to wash their hands. Some of them took a laddu and threw up, and laddu came and hit on their head. They could not eat properly. And they were all yelling and shouting and screaming. They were cursing the organizers. What is the use of all these items? These guys have cooked so many items, we can't eat one item also. Like that. On the other side, what happened to the demigod side? They understood that we are unable to eat it with this hand. Let us feed somebody else if we can't eat it. So they took and fed the opposite person, and the opposite person picked up and fed him, and they could complete the plate successfully. So, and then Brahma told the demons, now you decide who is great. He said, because the demigods were thinking of others' happiness, not their own happiness. So they could easily pick up and give it to others. And if I can't eat, let me feed others. Whereas the demons were thinking selfishly about themselves. So these two forces are always there in this world since the dawn of creation, divine and the demoniac. In the same manner, the Pandavas are very virtuous children, 5 of them, headed by Yudhishthir Maharaj, and they are virtuous children, Pandavas. And their cousins are Kauravas, headed by Duryodhana. There are 100 of them, and they are vicious category. So the Kauravas became so unreasonable that they usurped the earthly kingdom of the Pandavas, and they drove them to forest. They insulted their wife. They even tried to feed them poison once. They even once tried to set them ablaze in a palace made of lac. So in this way, many tortures, assassination attempts were made on Pandavas. Still Pandavas survived by Krishna's grace. So here comes a very interesting thing. These 100 were vicious Kauravas, but in their court was living the great grandsire Bhishma Pitama. Now Bhishma, he is not a vicious personality. He is a virtuous personality. In fact, he is a great devotee of the Lord, a devotee of Lord Krishna. But he was on the side of the Kauravas, living in the palace. Why? Many people may find it very strange. Because he is a lover of the other 5 Pandava children. Why did he not join hands with Pandavas? Why did he not live with people on the virtuous side? He himself was a man of great virtue, great religious principles. He was a great devotee of Krishna also. It's a mystery for many people. Even it was a mystery for me too, in my early days. Because I always heard that this great old man, Bhishma, he had a soft corner for Pandavas, always. He wanted to see them protected, see them saved. Even as Kauravas made many assassination attempts towards them. But then why he was on that side? So later on, when I read Srila Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam, I could understand that Lord Krishna is called as a Akhila Rasamrita Murti. The word Akhila means all. Rasa means exchanger of love. Amrita means imperishable relationships. Murti means the personality. So the spiritual world is a very colorful place with Lord exchanging love with his devotees in different moods. For some people consider Krishna their son, like Yashoda and Nanda. Some people consider Krishna their friend, like Arjuna and Sudama and such people. Some people consider Krishna their master. So there are people in master-servant relation. There are people in equal friend relation. Then there are people in the Vatsalya Bhava, which means mother, father and son relation, treating the Lord as a son. And then there are lovers, like the Radharani and the Gopis, they are lovers. So the spiritual world is a very amazing place. It's a world where there's a big spiritual family, where there is an exchange of love. So many people have very little idea about the spiritual world. People generally tend to think spiritual world is a place where everything is serene and there is peace and there is, no, they call it as a moksha. Moksha means liberation. You attain liberation and then everything comes to stand still. Now, people think like that. So there was one Professor Wallace in America here. So he saw the devotees dancing in the street and playing mirdangam and singing kirtans and everything. So he met Srila Prabhupada later and said, Swamiji, I think these disciples of yours, they are all not very mature and they look like they are very action-oriented. I think when they grow up in their maturity, slowly they will become silent. And slowly they will experience the silence and meditation and they'll become more sober and more grave. Is that a correct understanding? Prabhupada said, no, it's a wrong understanding, Prabhupada said. Prabhupada said, such a silence and gravity and sobriety is compared to going from negative axis to 0, 0. But those who are dancing and singing loudly, proclaiming the glories of God, they are beyond 0, 0 in the positive axis. So they are actually practicing spiritual emotions in relation to God. Yes, we have to go beyond material emotions, but we have to not just get stuck in 0, 0. We have to go beyond 0, 0 and experience positive emotions. I'll tell you, for example, in India, Gandhiji, M.K. Gandhi had 3 monkeys toy with him. The 3 monkeys, one was having eyes closed, don't see bad. Another monkey was having ears closed, don't hear bad. Third monkey had mouth closed, don't speak bad. Which is a very nice thing. One should not do these 3 bad things. Don't speak bad, don't hear bad, don't see bad. But this 3 monkey model doesn't teach you what should you see, what should you hear, what should you speak. So if somebody is speaking nonsense, you can tell him, shut up your mouth. If somebody is seeing impure things, you can tell him, shut up your eyes. Somebody is listening to things which are polluting to the ears, you can say, shut up your ears. But if somebody can see pure things, like for example, see the beautiful form of God, and Krishna playing on the flute, if you can see a beautiful form, or you can hear a beautiful devotional music that is bringing you one step closer to God, or you can glorify God with your mouth, or you can eat prasadam with your mouth. Why to close these 3 holes? Is it not true? Is there a need? So, for a person speaking nonsense, he has to be told to shut up. Therefore, Pythagoras said, speak fitly or be silent, he said. If you can speak fitly, you should speak. If you can't, then better be silent. So the silence is only for those who may not exactly know what to speak. But if somebody can know how to glorify God, then one should utilize one's speaking avenue in glorifying God. So we had children in Pune, in our school, Bhaktivedanta Model School we have. They put up a very beautiful dance. You know what they did? I use my eyes to see Krishna, see Krishna, see Krishna. I use my eyes to see Him. I use my ears to hear about Krishna. They would do some action also. I use my ears to hear about Krishna, something like this. Huh? Hear about Krishna, hear about Krishna. I use my ears to hear about Him. I use my mouth to speak about Krishna, like that. So they showed all the different senses of the body. I use my legs to walk to the temple. I use my hands to do puja for the Lord. Similarly, I use every limb of my body in Lord's service because Lord has given me senses and we don't have to get into a self-denial mode. Why should we shut up our senses? Lord has given the senses. Use the senses in Lord's service. In fact, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, even the sense of sexual organ, it is used for begetting children and to raise them virtuously in Krishna consciousness. Even that is considered devotional. What to speak of the other senses? Every other sense of the body can be utilized in Lord's service. Like this. It's called Rishikena, Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. Senses, when they are dovetailed in Lord's service, it is like putting iron rod in fire. If you put iron rod in fire, the iron rod is no more iron rod, it becomes fiery. Yeah, and the fiery iron rod acts exactly like fire. You can burn a paper or a cotton with that. Similarly, although our material body is having material senses, when you engage them in Lord's service, you become spiritually fiery. Then you will act like spirit. And that is the advantage of using the senses in Lord's service. But those who don't use the senses in Lord's service, they don't become spiritually surcharged. Rather, they are artificially shutting their senses. And that's what Prabhupada said to Wallace Ji, that, you see, repression of the senses is not the ultimate goal of life. But engaging senses in the service of the master of the senses, Supreme Lord Krishna, Rishikesha, that is actually the most intelligent thing to do, he said. So, the spiritual world is not a dry place. It is a very colorful place because the Supreme Lord is not alone. Have you ever seen a king walking on the road alone? In a president of a country, have you ever seen president of United States is coming on the road? Will he come alone? He'll never find. There is a retinue, always. Along with him, there are many associates with him, many cars going, and a lot of security and everything. Isn't it? They are never alone. In the same manner, you will never find Lord Krishna alone. You will find Krishna standing with Srimati Radharani. You will find a cow and a calf and Yamuna flowing. There are deers, there are peacocks, there are monkeys, there are birds, other birds. So he lives surrounded by his devotees, always in the spiritual world. And also all the devotees, what are they doing with him? He plays on the flute, they relish his flute. There is also exchange of love between Lord and the devotee. Therefore, he is called as Akhila Rasa Amrita Murti. He is called as Akhila Rasa Amrita Murti, means he exchanges love with different devotees in different ways. So now, you will see, even if there is a very, very rich man, let us assume there is a millionaire or a billionaire or a zillionaire. He has a huge house, but imagine he is a lonely person. There is no one with him. He is all alone. Life would be boring, isn't it? On the other hand, imagine he has a wife and he has multiple children, a dozen children, small and big, all colorfully dressed, running here and there, and they make the house a very joyful place. So, therefore, in the same manner, the spiritual world is a place where Lord and the devotees are eternally having different type of loving exchanges. There is songs going on, there are dances going on, there is glorification of Lord and the devotees going on. And they are eating in the bank of Yamuna together, they are dancing. So, Srila Prabhupada said the spiritual world, spiritual life is a very joyful life. And that life, what we practice there, when we practice it here, it is on the positive axis. It is not a sign of immaturity or anything. Because we don't dance foolishly, we dance for the pleasure of God. We sing for the pleasure of God. We do all our activities for His pleasure. So it's a very positive action. Like there is one company in Pune, they were having a stress management seminar for the top-notch managers. They were all wearing coat, suit, boot, tie and everything. So one part of the stress management seminar was, they told all the managers to get up from their seat and they have to run, touch this wall, run and touch that wall and this wall 20 times they have to touch and come to the organizer. And whoever comes first, they will get a special prize. And I saw all the managers running back and forth, along with their catching their ties and coats. They were running. And they had big bellies also. They were running very fast. Back and forth, back and forth. And then at the end of the activity, the organizer, the teacher was telling, he laughed and told all of them to sit in their seats. They were all breathing heavily. Then he told them, I wanted to bring out the child within you. He was telling, because you guys have got cooked up on your head. So therefore I made you run. Because they have never run in their life for a long time. They are hooked into the computer always. So, but why I am telling you this, their running was not with much sense. They just ran. They were told to run, they ran. Whereas you will find when devotees dance, they dance for the pleasure of the Lord. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava ki, Jai Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Maharani ki, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki, Jai. So, in this way, in the spiritual world, the 5 rasas I told you, but there are secondary rasas. One of the secondary rasas is, Lord Krishna also likes to do stunt with his devotees. You all know the meaning of the word stunt? Stunt means fighting. He may wonder, really God likes to fight? Even we also, when we watch movies, some part of the movie has got romance, some part of the movie is tragedy or sometimes comedy, sometimes different things, isn't it? And then one part of the movie is also the fighting scene, correct? So, we also have innately some propensity for fighting. There's some thrill in fighting. How many of you get some thrill in fighting scene? You get? You don't get? Some are very shyly raising hand. Actually, that propensity comes from God himself. God also likes to fight. But in the spiritual world, he has nobody to fight with him. Who will fight? Because everybody thinks God is master, I am servant. How can they fight with him? So they sometimes at the most they may take a flower and throw it on the Lord. They can't fight with him. So Lord wants to enjoy the joy of fighting. Then he says, okay, I will come to this world and I'll bring one of my devotees. I'll put him on the other side and we will have fighting. We will enjoy the fun of fighting. So therefore Lord Krishna brought Bhishma with him and told Bhishma, you be on Kaurava's side and I'll be on Pandava's side and we will enjoy fighting. And Bhishma agreed, being Lord's pure devotee. Prabhupada gives example. Sometimes a king gets a Palawan. Palawan means like a, bodybuilder. Wrestler. He gets a wrestler just for fun. He gives him some monthly salary and sometimes they have fighting. And the queens are having a good laughter and the ministers are watching, clapping hands. It's a fun time for the king. The wrestler is not his enemy. The wrestler is not going to kill the king. But the wrestler is just giving joy to the king, being employed by the king. In the same manner, just as king has employed a wrestler to give him enjoyment by punching him, similarly Krishna also brings his devotees and he also punches devotees. Devotees punch the Lord and they have fun. Sometimes you will see father and son have a fight. You have seen that? Sometimes small boy. Sometimes the father, he takes his stick, son takes his stick. They both have a fight. Any of you boys, you had experience with your father? You had experience? You had a stunt with your father? You had? He had experience, he's saying. Yeah. So generally who wins? The father wins or the son wins? Yeah, the son wins always. Although the father is more powerful, physically speaking, he is controlled by the love of his son. So he lets the son win over him and son is sitting on the chest of the father and say, Papa, I have defeated you. I finished you. So sometimes the father and son have a so-called fight, but the father loses. Similarly, in this war that Krishna performed here, with here you find this. I will give one small narration and I'll end the class today. You see, one of the days in the army, Duryodhana was very much disheartened by the outcome of the battle. He told Bhishma, oh grandsire, you are not exerting yourself sufficiently. I know why, because you have a soft corner for the Pandavas. Therefore, it's better for you to get down from your post of being a commander-in-chief. Let Karna take up commander-in-chief. You are not doing your part well. So when Bhishma heard it, he became very angry. He said, Duryodhan, don't you know who the Pandavas are? They all are strict followers of religious principles. And they are guided by the father of religion, Lord Krishna. How do you think they can be rooted out so easily? Don't think I am not exerting myself. I am putting my best of my sweat and toil. You ask anybody, how much of their army I have rooted out, but they are very invincible, very difficult to deal with people. Nevertheless, since you have spoken like this to me today, I promise you, I am going to take 5 arrows from my quiver. And he meditated on those 5 arrows. And then he kept them in a silken cloth and said, with these 5 arrows, tomorrow I will finish all the 5 Pandavas. When Duryodhana heard it, he had a beaming smile. He said, I twisted the false ego of this old man, and now he has understood my concern. He is going to kill the 5 Pandavas tomorrow. He was very happy. And then he told Bhishma, please give those 5 arrows to me. I will keep with me. I will give you tomorrow. He said, and Duryodhana took them and kept with him. And it was night time. They were about to go to sleep. In the meantime, Lord Krishna woke up Arjuna on the other side of the army. Arjuna, this is no time to sleep. Immediately go to Duryodhana and fetch those 5 arrows. Otherwise, you guys will be finished tomorrow. Arjuna was sleeping. He just rubbed his eyes and got up, sat on the back of the horse, and rode his horse to the side of the Kauravas, got off his horse, and the 2 soldiers who were guarding the tent, they moved aside, because in those days, it was like a baseball game or any game. You know, morning to evening they will fight the battle, and evening the warriors on either side will meet each other. They were not having any vengeance or anything. It was like a sports. So when Arjuna went to meet Duryodhana, Duryodhana was taken by surprise. Arjuna, what brings you here? I think you want the kingdom back. If you want, I can give you in arms. And Arjuna said, no. If I have to get the kingdom back, I will get it by battle. I will fight the war and I'll get my kingdom back. I have not come for that. I have come for another thing, he said. And then he told, do you remember I saved you from the Gandharvas in the forest once? And at that time, you gave me a boon, which I said I will ask later. I have come to ask you for the boon which I righteously own. And then Duryodhana said, okay, tell me, what do you want? Please give me those 5 arrows, he said. And Duryodhana was taken by surprise. Of course, he took the velvet cloth with 5 arrows and gave it to Arjun. And then when Arjun sat on the back of the horse to leave, Duryodhana asked him, how did you know about these 5 arrows? Then Arjun said, who else other than Krishna can know this? It is Lord Krishna who told me, he said. And then then Arjuna proceeded. And Duryodhana sat in his bed with great amazement. There is nothing that Krishna does not know. In this entire creation, everything he comes to know. So he offered obeisance. Maybe Krishna is God. For a moment he thought. So now when Bhishma had given those 5 arrows to Duryodhana, he told him, see, I will kill Pandavas with these 5 arrows, provided Krishna does not break his vow of not lifting weapons, he had told him. So therefore, the next day in the army, there was a very valiant battle between Bhishma and the Pandava side, Arjuna. And Bhishma, you can see on the other side, Arjuna's side, Bhishma knocked down the chariot, knocked down the horses. Even Arjuna was on the ground. And Bhishma sent volleys of arrows continuously. It was so huge number of arrows that Arjuna just couldn't withstand it. Because Bhishma is very, very mighty warrior. Prabhupada says Bhishma is like 25,000 Arjunas put together. One place Prabhupada says he's very, very mighty warrior. So at that time, Krishna became afraid. What is going to happen to my devotee Arjuna? Immediately Krishna lifted the wheel of a chariot and started running towards Bhishma, as you see here in this picture. At that time, Arjuna is catching Krishna's feet saying, my Lord, you have taken a vow that you will not lift any weapon in the battle. Please don't lift any weapon. But Krishna says, hell with my policy. Huh? Hell with my policy of not lifting weapon. If I don't lift the weapon now, you will be finished. You Pandavas, I can't afford to see you killed in the battle. I have to protect you guys, all of you. So he lifted the weapon and is running towards Bhishma. And when Bhishma saw, he put his weapons down and he loved to see this beauty of the Lord, whose hair was flowing, whose body was like bluish tamal tree. His eyes were ridden with anxiety to protect Arjun, and his upper garment was flying off, and his lower garment, the dhoti, was shining like golden sunshine. And seeing the Lord in a fighting mood, because Bhishma also enjoys the fighting spirit called Virya Rasa. And both Lord and the devotee, Bhishma as well as Lord Krishna, enjoyed this fighting scene because they are connected to each other in that particular rasa, particular mood. At the time, Bhishma said, my dear Lord, you are my master. I am owned by you. You can do whatever you want with me. And the war ended that day. The conch shells blew and the war ended. So in this way, Bhishma had a very sweet relationship with the Lord. Now subsequently, Bhishma was in the arrow bed, as you see here. Bhishma Pitama was in the arrow bed in the later days. At that time, Lord Krishna comes with all the Pandavas to meet Bhishma Pitama, to see him. Krishna knew that Bhishma was a very great warrior and he had Ichha Mrityu, means he could leave his body at will. So he decided, today is the day he decided to leave, because the Uttarayan starts. So there are 2 sections of the year, like January to July, and then August to December. So the Uttarayan and Dakshinayan, 2 periods. So in the Uttarayan period, those who leave the body, the yogis, they don't come back again. So in this world, of course, Bhishma need not follow such rules. He is a pure devotee. Nevertheless, he followed it to teach the yogis, to set a standard for them. So knowing that Bhishma is going to leave the body, Lord Krishna personally came and sat in front of him, along with the Pandavas he brought. He wanted to show Bhishma that Pandavas are all safe and they are all going to take the rule of the world now. Very soon Yudhishthira is going to be coronated as the king of the world, which is what our Bhishma Pitama wanted. One very important thing we have to know about Bhishma, you see, in the battlefield, for example, here I showed you the picture, in a battlefield where the heads are flying and arrows are piercing the bodies of the soldiers, even in such a place, Bhishma is able to exchange love with the Lord in Virya Rasa. Is it not very amazing? So it is only possible. Actually, many other people in the army, in the war, they may be in great anxiety that I should not lose my life, because everybody will want to do self-preservation, right? No? Everybody may want to defend themselves. Whereas here, Bhishma is very naturally smiling and very happily welcoming Lord Krishna here. Prabhupada says here, in the later, I'll show you here. Here he says, later on Bhishma says this, you see here. Yeah. See, fulfilling my desire and sacrificing his own promise, Lord Krishna got down from the chariot, took up its wheel and ran towards me hurriedly, just as a lion goes to kill an elephant. He even dropped his upper garment on the way. Krishna actually did not break his promise, Prabhupada says. Why? Because he did not accept any weapon, but he simply showed Bhishma that I have come to kill you with this wheel of the chariot. His Sudarshan Chakra is different. These are all reciprocation. Krishna can do anything for his devotee. You see, actually Krishna's intention was not to kill Bhishma. If he wanted to kill Bhishma, like you all know Shishupal, when he wanted to kill, he just took a chakra and finished him. Correct, no? Here his intention was not to kill. Just to make a show of his anger, he lifted a wheel of a chariot, because nobody fights with the wheel of a chariot. But in this way, when Krishna took the wheel and came, Krishna wanted to show this anxious form, which was very pleasing to Bhishma, because Bhishma thought, how eager is my Lord to protect his own devotee Arjuna. So that touched the heart of Bhishma very much. The Lord was so angry that Arjuna checked him when he was moving towards Bhishma Dev. But in spite of Arjuna's checking, he proceeded towards Bhishma as a lover goes towards a lover. without caring for hindrances. Apparently his determination was to kill Bhishmadev, but factually it was to please him as a great devotee of the Lord, he says. So these are all amazing pastimes. So my request to all of you is meditate on this one very important thing today, Bhishma's spiritual mental absorption. Generally, many of us blame that in my office, my colleagues are all non-devotees and my situation is not favorable. If everything was favorable, I'll be a great devotee. Many people say like that. But was Bhishma's ambience favorable for him, for his Krishna consciousness in Kaurava Sabha? Kaurava Sabha had 4 people called Dushta Chatushtayam, 4 Dushtas. Dushta means vicious people, 4 people. Who are they? Duryodhan, Dushasan, Shakuni, Karna. These are the kind of people who are always talking about hatching plots to kill Pandavas, talking political things, always talking crooked things, envious and revengeful. The Sabha was filled with such talks. But even in the midst of that, just like a lotus is unspoiled in the midst of muddy pool of water. See, water is all around muddy, but the lotus is serene. Like that Bhishma has remained. I was thinking about it more, that in that assembly if Bhishma survived, remembering Krishna, then why can't he remember in the battlefield? It's not very difficult for him, correct, no? So, another example I'll give you is Akrura, who lived in the palace of Kamsa. And Kamsa was regularly sending demons to Vrindavan to kill Krishna. And that was all known to Akrura. But Akrura was completely untouched by bad association. Here comes a very important lesson for all of us. Don't isolate yourself from the world, but insulate yourself. Now, how can we insulate yourself and not isolate? Isolation means leave everything and go to Himalayas and live like a Himalayan Baba. That is isolate. Insulate means live in the heart of the city, but don't allow yourself to be polluted by others. I'll tell you how we can do that. 2 examples I'll tell you, Puranic examples. In the Puranas, one example is of mongoose. You know mongoose? You all know mongoose? Who is the enemy of the mongoose? Snake. See, sometimes when a snake tries to bite a mongoose, but the mongoose tries to bite the snake's tail. So it goes to bite the tail, and the snake will turn around and try to hit him. So whenever the snake hits him, he gets a little poison on his body. He will immediately run to the vanaspati plant and he will roll over that. Then the poison will be gone. Again he will come and attack the snake. But what the intelligent mongoose will do, it will every time it attacks the snake, it will catch the tail and pull it little towards the vanaspati plant. Pull it. Every time, inch by inch, he will bring him closer. And once he has brought him very close to vanaspati plant, rolling on the vanaspati plant, it will bite the snake into pieces and finish him. That's what it does. Similarly, what the Shastras say, those who are Grihastha devotees, when you go to office, when you go to other places, there you meet people who may be like snake-like. Their association is like a snake for you. It's very bad for you. But you should be like a mongoose. So the temple is the place which is vanaspati plant. So you are going to outside world, you are getting bad association, run back to the temple, see the Lord's beautiful form, take part in the sermons, take part in the kirtan, chanting, dancing, take prasad with devotees, meet the other fellow devotees, and get nourishment, strength, and get rid of the poison here. And again you go, again those people will come to you. So pull those people closer and closer to temple. Finally, when you bring them here and feed them prasad, and let them take darshan, let them hear nice music, then they will also start chanting and the snake-like tendencies will be finished. How many have understood the example? Is it clear? Is it clear or it's not very clear? Clear? Yeah. So the bad association can be surpassed by coming into very good association here in the temple. And there's another example. You see, the milk is dilutable. For example, if you add water to the milk, more water, then there's no more milk. It's completely watery. On the other hand, if you convert the milk into butter, once you get the butter, you put it in water, will it mix? Will it mix? No, it cannot mix. Similarly, our heart has to become like butter. by sadhana, by chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Daily chanting of Hare Krishna will gradually make us internally very integrated and very strong and like butter. Once you make your inner heart like butter, even when you go in the outside world, you will completely remain aloof and unaffected, because butter means your absorption has come in the Lord's name, form, qualities, pastimes and activities. So that's what happened to Bhishma. His heart was like butter. He had completely become absorbed in devotion. So he was unaffected by the external vicious environment. So much so that even in a battlefield, he is exchanging love with the Lord. So beautifully. And not only that, on this particular day, today, he is lying in the arrow bed. You will see here. He was lying in the arrow bed. So many arrows are poking his body. Imagine if there is one needle somebody is pricking on your back, our whole attention goes there. Is it not true? Just one small needle. Here there are hundreds of arrows poking his body. And he is lying in the arrow bed and glorifying Krishna with the Vishnu Sahasranama Stotram. That's the Vishnu Sahasranama he spoke in glorification of Lord Krishna beautifully. So this is another amazing thing. The devotees of the Lord can surpass the bodily pains and pleasures when they become absorbed in devotional service to the Lord. He is completely absorbed. So for me, Bhishma is a great hero whom I adore for his spiritual mental absorption. So there are many people. He is absorbed in the form of Krishna as a warrior in the battle. And there is one Markandeya Rishi. He was absorbed in the form of Lord Krishna lying in a banyan tree leaf as a small baby. That was his absorption. For gopis, they were absorbed in the form of Krishna in the Shyam Sundar form. Similarly, for Yashoda, her absorption is Krishna as a Bala Mukundam, her darling, a small son, Yashoda Nandan. Everybody has, you will find great devotees have different absorption, like Shripad Ramanuja was absorbed in Krishna's form as Ranganatha. Like that, Madhvacharya was absorbed in the form of Krishna as Udupi Krishna. So, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was absorbed in the form of Lord Jagannath Baladev Subhadra in Jagannath Puri. All these different Krishna's forms in which they had absorbed their consciousness. So, we chant Hare Krishna, come to the temple, take darshan of the deities, study the scriptures. By hearing about the Lord and hearing the chanting of the holy name, our purification will increase. The purer the heart, more the spiritual mental absorption. Like a sponge soaked in water will become absorbed in water. Our consciousness can absorb in the Lord, the purer we make it. And for making it purer and purer, we have to chant the holy name. So Lord Krishna says, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayah. O Arjuna, at the time of death, whoever remembers me with focused attention, they will definitely attain me without fail. Like that Krishna says. Bhishma remembered Krishna today and he is ascending to the spiritual world today. So we can pray to him, please give us also such an absorption. Many people don't know what to think at the time of death. In Pune temple, I was giving a lecture. One nurse came from one of the nearby hospitals. She was sitting behind. I was speaking the similar point that day. And then after the lecture, she came and took one japamala from me. And she said, Swamiji, I never knew that at the time of death one should remember God and God's holy name. If I knew this, I would have helped a fellow. Last week only one old man died, she said. So one old man died in their hospital. And that fellow was asking her, oh, I'm about to die now, what I should do? She said, die without shouting, she said. And that fellow still shouted, he shouted and passed stool and urine and he died. She said, that's all I knew. I told him not to shout. I didn't know any more thing. Instead of, he could have shouted Rama. One small change he would have made. He would have benefited so much. Now she said, now I'll tell the people, those who are going to die, you hear the holy name of the Lord and or utter the holy name, you will immensely benefit. One will, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a verse which says, Patitaskalito Bhagna Sandashtastapta Ahataha Harihi iti Avashenaha Pumanarhati Yatana. If somebody stumbles and falls on the road and dies, or somebody falls from a rooftop and falls and dies, or somebody is in deathbed, Maranajwaram is dying, they just have to say one word. All of you repeat this word, Hari. Then you will not go to hell, it says. Just by uttering this word, because the word Hari means the Lord who takes away all your sinful reactions. That's the meaning of Hari. Sarva Amangala Hare iti Hari. So, in this way, Bhishma remembered Lord Krishna with full absorption, even in the arrow bed today, on this Makara Sankranti day. And all of you devotees have come to the temple on this auspicious day. Putting your foot in a Krishna temple on this day itself is very, very auspicious. And to hear Katha about Bhishma today on the same occasion in the evening time, he left the body. He ascended to the spiritual world. So to hear this Katha on this particular day is extremely auspicious. So every one of you and your families will be blessed by Bhishma Pitama, who is one of the 12 Mahajanas. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Hope I didn't exceed the time, no? Yeah. You know, when Srila Prabhupada left the body in Vrindavan, one great guru, Satsubhadas Maharaj Goswami, has compared Prabhupada leaving the world to Bhishma leaving. Why? Because when Bhishma left, all devatas came and rishis came. Similarly, when Prabhupada left the body in Vrindavan, all the gurus and sannyasis all over the world came to Vrindavan. And also Bhishma had no other desire other than attaining Krishna. Prabhupada also said, Kuch ichha nahi. He had no other desire. When people asked him, we have any one desire? Prabhupada said, I have no more desires. Whatever I wanted to do, I have done. Now I am going back to Krishna. He said like that. And Bhishma's attention was fully focused on Krishna. Even till last minute, they were dripping milk in the mouth of Prabhupada, and he was giving commentary to Bhaktivedanta Purpose commentary. When unadulterated clarity he had, even on the last breath when he was taking. He was 100% Krishna conscious, even in such a disgruntled body, very old body, and body which was completely falling apart. He was fully Krishna conscious. So we can learn from Srila Prabhupada how to live and how to live. Both we can learn from Srila Prabhupada, who followed in the footsteps of Bhishma Pitama. Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So many lessons and inspiration.
You can take this one.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for a wonderful class with helping us understand the Bhishma Pitama's character as a wonderful devotee and the reciprocation between the Lord and the devotees, and the lesson we can learn and how we can practice devotion in our life. Thank you. So thank you all the devotees for coming today also. So there's a feast downstairs. Many of you might know. If you go outside this door on the left-hand side, there's a stairway to go to the Prasad Mahal. Please honor the Prasadam. There's usually Kirtan from 6:30 to 8 also. Youth will do some Kirtan. You can participate in that. And also Darshan will open for a nighttime Aarti at 7:20. So 7:20, right? Yeah, 7:20. 7:20 to 7:30. So please, you can come back also for darshan if you like. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Actually, it's Ichamrit, Yes. He can decide when he wants to leave. Yeah. Actually, see, one thing in that generation, if you see the previous generation, anything they do, they do Kapkali. He was a yogi.
He's a pure devotee.
Pure devotee.
Then why we
So, for pure devotees, he taught